שבוע שלמה השתתף פה. אוי ואי 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 ואי. Today we're going to talk about a topic which is called משכנו, אחריך, ונרצה. Shlomo HaMelech says in Shiur, K'mishbochi משכנו, you say משכנו in English.
Pull me closer.
Pull. In Yiddish you say schleppnach, אחריך, after you. You see, I'll see that you really want me. ונרצה, I will run after you. There's a Yotzat from the Shlomo from Adamsk. It says, what does Shlomo HaMelech mean? Moshchenu achrecha ונרצה. So it says, there's a halacha in, you go buy an animal, a cow, even you paid money, as long as you didn't do meshicha, you didn't slap it to you, you're not koine. So two ways how to do meshicha. There's one way you stand in back of the animal, you give it you hit it, so it starts going because you hit it. Or you stand in the front, you show him come, and he goes because you made him come, then you're koine. The two ways how a person can connect to the Ribono Shel Olam, to be koine. There's Hikisha b'makl, that he even went through all the years till the Baal Shem Tov HaKudosh came around. HaKudosh changed the concept, so Moshchenu achreicha ונרצה. The same concept that you can buy Mashiach with hitting, you can call the cow and it'll come. What's the difference between hitting and calling? Hitting, you're standing in back of the cow. By calling, you're standing in front. It's achreicha, that means Rebbe, stand in the front and show me that you're calling me. And I'm going. Havyani HaMelech Chadurav. Then Rebbe Shloim, I'll come into all the rooms that you take me in. Nogilu v'nismach l'voch. This is actually, I can say, the Bush was the first one that I met, that actually his whole mahalach was everything is an opportunity to get closer to Ribono Shel Olam. It's just up to your vision, how you're looking at it. As the Moed says last week in Pasha Shlilith, the Baal Shem Tov HaKudosh. Baal Shem Tov HaKudosh says that everything that comes to a person, any emotion that comes to a person, you can always look at it in two ways. You can think it's messing him up. Somebody messed me up. Somebody got me angry. Somebody got me scared. Or I can take it in a healthy way, which is called emotions, as we said the last few weeks, come from the higher source, we call it. By the time it comes to the human being, it comes in emotions. In the higher source, we call it malchus, we call it midos. Higher than that, we call it the seichel, which is Chabad, chochmah, bin adas. All the way up to the Ribono Shel Olam. But until it comes down to us, it looks like it's coming from someone else. It's about Bechir. The Baal Shem Tov HaKudosh says that the main thing is when a person is afraid, kol ha-pchudim, so say the Lushan from the Baal Shem Tov, all scares that you have, afilu b'balachayim, hamagia le'udam, you can live, that this person did it to me, this dog did it to me. Ikavunas Hashem Yisborach. They should always know that at the end of the day, if we believe that a Kadosh Baruch Hu runs the world, and there's Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh says, nothing in the world. Everything is Ashgucha Prutis, not only you, even Adoimim. That was one of the foundation of the Baal Shem Tov. So actually, Kadosh Baruch Hu brought me this pachad, Kedei sheyizke liras Hashem. You should be afraid of Hashem. The person is a smart person, and he starts contemplating, he starts thinking about it, which we're going to speak of tonight. How do you do that contemplating? Nothing in the world can get you go wild. Why? They say, someone knocks the door middle of the night, you get all scared. Who could it be? And the guy's knocking slow, middle of the night. What could be there? Maybe he's gonna go away. So then he starts banging and banging until you go over to the door. You look out at you see it's your father there. So your whole stress that you had till you got to the door was a waste of time. That means Bush says, I fall and you fall. We all have all kinds of stress, and according to the Baal Shem Tov, actually the stress comes not to distance you, it comes to get you closer. The Gemara says, Leburu Rukim Re'umim Ele Fashet Akmimias Belev. You see outside there's thunders, and it's all calm. That's to remind you there's somebody running the world, that you should use, instead of using that pachad to see, to be afraid of yourself, use it to pachad Hashem. Earthquake that happened now. Where did it happen? Where?
Friday, in New Jersey.
In Jersey. So the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh had a debate with a philosopher. The philosopher says that means HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells in the Torah, Mu Hashem Elokecha shoyam imach. What am I asking from you? Ki im liyir. All I need from you is to just be afraid of me. So he says, I don't understand.
Recording in progress.
A king that's so big, he has to ask, we have to be afraid of him. Take a policeman standing in the corner. You don't need the king there, you're afraid already. So how Melech, Busav Adom, you see him going, you're afraid, you stand still. The punishment has to ask me, I should be afraid of him. Answer the Baal Shem Tov. When a person is afraid of the king, he's also afraid of himself, actually. Because he won't be afraid. It might cost him his life. It might cost him his money. It might cost him his prestige, or throw him into jail. That means it's not neto, it's not absolute, the pachad from the king, as you have your pachad in it too. Kadosh Baruch Hu, when he gives you a pachad, he never gives you the pachad. The frightening in seeing the Ribbono Shel Olam. Will always be something in the middleman, which Rusha called it, it's your way to look at it as a metzius, as a fact, then you're afraid of a human being or an animal, or you take a look at it as a siba, cause. That is the way Kadosh Baruch Hu reveals himself to us. So the Baal Shem Tov, when Kadosh Baruch Hu says, Mu Hashem Elokecha shoyam imach, the way that I reveal myself will always be that you'll be able to think someone else is carrying you. So you might think that you might lose your life, you might lose your prestige, you might lose money, but you should know every time that shows up that someone's going to take away something from you, or you're going to lose your health or whatever it is, God forbid. I don't want to punish you. I don't want to get you off. I'm just helping you since you don't see me. So the way you can recognize me, Elokim also Shiurim. The only way that you can recognize me is through every emotion that comes up. It makes no difference if it's a havu or yir. There's 7 emotions which is come out from 7 midas. Every emotion that comes up, you should always know who's behind that. It's the emotion that is behind that, which is your bechira that you can take how to take it up. We know that there's the instinct that a person has when he's afraid of something. So there's the 3 F's: fight, flight, and freeze. That goes automatically. Just so as Rebbe, the Gemara says, because he created every single bria with its cycle. Every single bria has its height. And every single bria has its color, how it's supposed to look. Because he gave everyone, says the Flomkes Villa, because he says that the cycle that he gave him and the height is the same thing. An animal, because he gave him his cycle, his thought, his mind, for 2 things. He should run away from a danger and he should eat. That means he's only busy with himself. So why do you have to make the head higher than the body? The head and the body is always on the same level. Because that's all he needs, that's all I need him. We call that, the Maharal calls that, they live Chai Shu, Chaim Rigi. Their life is only in this world. In that world, they're not there. A human being, especially a Yid, has a chelik l'kaim emal. He's living not, because Baruch Hu gave him the das and the dibber, not only to survive and only to look for his needs. He gave him, the Zohar says, Achucham einov b'roishay. Says also Shlomo HaMelech. Asks the Zohar, only the Chucham has his eyes in the head. Well, every people has the 2 eyes in his forehead. Nobody has it anywhere else. Says the Zohar, Chucham is a smart person, a wise person. Is einov, he knows that Kodesh Baruch Hu gave him that his head should be higher than his body, that he should see b'roishay. From where does his life come from? Actually, Kodesh Baruch Hu created the human being, for he made him ufam and adumo. Then later he gave him in a neshama, he gave him a ruach, he gave him a nefesh, vayipach ba'apav nishmas Chaim. Kodesh Baruch Hu gave in, he blew into the human being, and the Maharal says, you were created the last one. It's just like you make a wedding. So until the chus and kala come in, you prepare the seats, you prepare the hall, you prepare everything. You cook. When everything is finished, then the chus and kala can come. The same thing, the human being, because Baruch Hu prepared this whole world. Everything, the diamond, the tzmah, the Chaim, the Dabba, when everything is ready, he brought the human being, and when he looked out with Selim Alakim, then Yipach Ba'apav Nishmas Chaim. He gave in a Nishmas Chaim, it's called the Riach Mamalu. But simple, he gave in the breathing Vayipach, he blew in Man the Nufach, Mitoich Nufach. When a person blows in his air, it's actually, I take it from my inside. Because we're part of him, that we're chelik l'kaim imal mamash, we call that. But it's something interesting. He didn't blow it in for 120 years, or for 1,000 years. He blows it in, a second later, it goes out. A second later, he blows it in again. So what's this for? Might as well, whatever you decide, there, see you, Dad, see you, Uncle, and we'll talk when I'm finished down here. But there's a reason why Kodesh Baruch Hu created the world. Kodesh Baruch Hu created the world, L'chavoidi, Berusev, Yatzartev, Afasisev. I need from you respect, I need from you to recognize me. I need from you that I'm concealed. You don't see me, you only see the dog, you only see the animal. You only see human beings, you only see yourself, your nose. But in order to get you to that place, which is called Birosh, which is beyond your understanding, for that I have to help you with that. How do I help you with that? I make you vulnerable. I make you see yourself helpless every second. I give you a breathe, and then the breath goes back. But it doesn't go back because I want you to lose it. I'm helping you through your vulnerability to be able to know that if you have a breath, I'm giving it to you every minute. Till David HaMelech was living with such a way that every time he had a breath, it was Koil HaNeshumo, the Halal Ko, Halalika. Every time he gave a new Shvach to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as if it was a new breath altogether. It was a new day altogether. It's every time a new opportunity to recognize the Rebbeinu Shalom. And Rebbeinu Shalom must give it in such a way because he gave us a koyach, a strength that we can forget, which is called koychi v'oitzim yudi usus achar lazeh, the arrogance that I think that I'm the one that's doing it. So actually, Bush is to explain Yitzvah shel udam mizgabe ulav. Usually we learn that a person has a hard time, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu has to help him. Says the Bush, it works the other way around. Since I have to help you, I made you in such a way of arrogance that you think you're the one that's breathing. So how do I help you that you should know that I'm giving you the breath? It's Yitzvah shel udam mizgabe ulav. That's the help that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives you, that He takes away the breath in order that you should see that each new breath comes from Him. And as long as we don't change that, then we can take every time that's something missing. The Chassidus calls it when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, actually He was Ein Sof, He was infinite. And infinite means there's infinite possibilities. Because if HaKadosh Baruch Hu is infinite possibilities, he cannot make a finite, because any finite that touches the infinite becomes also infinite. So how can I say the Rebbeinu Shalom is infinite? For that reason, says the Ari, HaKadosh Baruch Hu made a world which is mugbal, which is finite, and for His reasons how He made it from infinite, it's a whole it's a Chaim, Ari, we're not going to go into that now, but at the end of the day, the infinite is giving the life to the finite, but it's giving the light and the finite of pulses. It cannot give it all the time, because if the infinite is all connected all the time, then again, the finite becomes infinite. So we call it muta v'loy muta. He gives it and takes it back. But once, we shouldn't get burned. Secondly, is since there is that second that you're disconnected, so you might think that I forgot about you. It's not that I forgot about you, I'm helping you to connect to me, which the only way I connect to you is only through that. That was stage one. That means that HaKadosh Baruch Hu made a finite from an infinite, which only the Rebbeinu Shalom is able to do that, which He is infinite. And to make a finite, how to do it, with all the Sifra Kavur and the Sifra Chassidus are busy how that happened. But then it says the Baal Shem Tov, it wasn't finished yet. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu created, He made that tzimtzum, how do you say tzimtzum, that finite we call it? The narrowness that He made is actually, He made it, actually every time, sorry?
I think bounded.
Bounded, that tzimtzum is more than bounded. He made that tzimtzum in order for person. Every time a person sees a tzimtzum, something gets stuck, something gets bounded, something gets narrow, we'll call it. It's not because He wants you to be narrow. He wants you to know when you're broad and you have a lot of opportunities, you should know He's the one that's giving you the opportunities. So every tzimtzum has to bring a person. If there wouldn't be a person, if there wouldn't be a recognizable shepherd, then He didn't have to make the whole tzimtzum, as we said before. Amzi Yotzar Taliyah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu created Zu, this is Klal Yisrael, Tihilusi Yosepari. I'm helping you that you should be the ones to recognize me and recognize that dafka where you think you're losing out, I'm giving it to you to help you to recognize me even more. But what happened? So when Adam was created, the Torah says they put him into Gan Eden. Says the Ramban, what does Gan Eden mean? What's the difference before Chet Etz Hadas, after Chet Etz Hadas? Says the Ramban that before Chet Etz Hadas, because Baruch came to the accomplishment, infinite created a finite. The finite can stand on his own. The infinite and the finite can see he cannot stand altogether on his own. He has to define it. So I gave an option that infinite can also be finite. Then the human being, every time he breathes in, thank you God, he breathes out, there's a second that he might lose it, but a second later he gets it back again. So then he thanks again Hashem. That means in that second that he loses it, he doesn't lose it altogether. It's just to help him that he shouldn't get used to it and think this is something automatic. So that keeps him on ball all the time. What comes along, the Nuchash, which is the Chet of the Merishon, it says, listen, this is the Shkantachlis. This is, you're going to be all the time busy in a whole formation. You're never going to finish with this. You know what? There's out there a tree with a lot of fruits up there. Might as well pack your storage with a lot of fruits, and we'll see you next season when the fruits will go out. We'll take another few fruits, and meantime we're going to walk around here. So what happened? The human being lost his savlanut, we should call it. He lost his patience. When he lost his patience, that means he wants it right now. You can't wait till they cook it for 2 hours. He wants to put it in the micro in a second. So from that time, when the Udam messed it up with Chet Etz Hadas, actually messed up two things. Number one, he lost his vision to see automatically when every instinct of stress to see actually it's Ribbono Shel Olam. Now in the stress, suddenly he sees that someone else is giving him the stress. And number two, till he chaps that it's not someone else, it's Ribbono Shel Olam, we have to help him with that. So that's why it says, Be'etzev teil dibunim, be'zeh asapechu torich alecha. In the beginning it was enough, I just stop it for a second, and you'll chap that it's from Ribbono Shel Olam. But once it came to Chet Etz Hadas, how much I messed it up from an infinite to make a finite, but I didn't mess it up in such a way that you're going to lose it. But when a person comes, says the Ramban, before Chet of the Merishon, a person had no bchira whatsoever. That means it was so simple by him, even though he's going to lose it for a second, just like the sun, just like the moon. But once you try to do it, how can I get along on my own? Then comes in bchira. Then suddenly you have to work hard to get back to that first stage. There's a famous story that Rabbi Melech, Rabbi Zisha told Rabbi Melech, you know, according to the Ri, all the neshumas were by Udam Merishon, by the Chet Udam Merishon. So Melech, you saw that Udam Merishon is going to eat from that Etz Hadas. Why didn't you choke him? You have to stop him. Melech said, what did the Nuchash say? What do you have to come on to the Ribbono Shel Olam every second for? Show that you can be a gatu, you can take care of it for yourself. You meet him once a year, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, twice a year. But every second, meet him, what? Who needs that? So then, says Rabbi Melech, when I heard that, I would have stopped him from eating it. But then he would go around all his life regretting, wow, if I would have ate from that Etz Hadas, I would have been God. I decided I let him eat from that, and you should know, God, you're never going to be. That means what happened right now is actually things started changing. Every time that an emotion comes up, even though it's be'etzef tel dibunim, a person has to give birth, a woman has to give birth, she needs pain. What is this pain for? Rebusha said the pain is not there to punish. The pain is because mafteach shel mashbe b'yad HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Who's the one that gives birth? Who's the one that can make this simple procedure of giving birth? Actors can make it faster. It can make surgery, but the simple giving birth, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu left it in his hand. Now, as we said before, the way I should see that HaKadosh Baruch Hu did it, I shouldn't think, well, I had a boy, I had a girl. HaKadosh Baruch Hu helps you through that pain, that you should come back to the matzav of before Etzadas, to know that without HaKadosh Baruch Hu helping me, without going with that help that you gave me, I would have never come there. That means every time, so you used to explain what happens. When a woman has this pain of the labor, usually it starts off with, let's say, 10 minutes. And even when the pain comes, it comes for a few seconds. So the question is how you're going to look at it. If you look at it as an opportunity, so once it comes, it hurts. You keep your mind closed. You go into a patience, as we call it, savlanut, Rebusha said, and you get a clear view from that pain, from your helplessness. The pain goes away. It's actually because you were just knocking on the door, and you saw him. So you calm down. You get even more koiches. So then you're waiting for the next pain to come, because actually it's giving you a positive view, not a negative view. But if a person gets the pain and he's busy, and that the pain was not an opportunity, the pain was a harassment, the pain was a punishment, the pain was something got into stress. So then, even though the pains come with a hevel, which is separate from one to another with 10 minutes or 5 minutes, but even in the middle, I'm also going to a stress and a phobia that the pain is going to come. Then actually it's hurting all the time. So I used to call it course hachana le'leida. I can give you a course how to have an easy birth, and whoever listens to this can go through it very easy. So the bullshit is this. Anyways, coming back, that means where is the building of a human being? A human being, the Pusik says, Aya Pera Yulad. Every person when he's born, Aya Pera is like a wild donkey. And that means as his emotions come up, he has to build his emotions slowly but surely. Always the emotion will come up, always it will give him stress, always he'll be flooded with emotions, but it's just a question how you look at it. If I look at it, it's as a punishment or something that's, I feel myself helpless, then I get into nervous, then I can be even the age of 80, and I can come in to a place, and I don't have my seat, I can start yelling. Why? Because by the age of 8, you didn't start working on yourself. And the older a person gets, it's much, much harder for him. He was used to do everything wild, never gave the connection which can mold his and refine his emotions to be the connection of Hashem. That is the whole difference between a person that worked on the midas and didn't work on the midas. That's what Shlomo Melech says. I can look at it as if you're with a stick and you're hitting me, as we said before, or kisha b'maklim, or I can look at it as moshcheni. Actually, you're talking to me, but till it comes down to the human being, I would want Ribbono Shel Olam to speak to me himself. But then we wouldn't have b'chlal b'chira. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes it in a way that you see you're vulnerable, but once you start ta'am yeruk yetei Hashem, once you start using your thoughts, your understanding, your zboninus, we call it, your meditation, we call it, that actually what's happening is not to get you far away. It's getting to connect. It's an opportunity. Then that's the whole nachminut. I said, just like a child comes to a dentist, and the question is, if the dentist gets paid or it's only for kupat cholim, it's something public. And the child sits down and starts yelling, so they say, goodbye, make an appointment for 2 months from now. But if it's a doctor that's getting paid for, and the whole family is there, and this, so he tries hard to get it through. You should know the one that gives you the pain is the one that has the most interest, that he created you here, and he's going to work hard, and it's whatever he gave it to you, he also gave you the verschluffen, to numb you up, so that you have the koiches to go through it. He'll never give you more than you're able to go through it. That means sometimes, so every time this fight, flight, and freeze comes up from an emotion, it's the question if it's a cheshbon from death or life, so a person has to run away, has to do what he can do, run away. But we find by Yosef HaTzadik, when he was with Eshes Patifa, the Torah says, Vayonos, Vayetze, Achitzu. Vayonos means he ran away. Vayetze Achitzu means he walked out. Did he run or did he walk? So it was just to say, you have to differentiate it. As when he was in the danger of a fire, his Vayonos, you have to be on the run and get out of there. But once he got out of there, his Vayetze, then we have to go back to the Yishuv Hadas. We have to go back to my whole full mind to be where I am. These days we call it mindfulness. That means even the emotion comes, and you see it's not a shayla from death or life. It's not a shayla from abuse. It's just a question, how do I look at it? Then there's a procedure. The procedure goes that we have to keep ourselves, as we said the last few weeks, the meal. We have to go into a silence, we have to go into a patience, which the Rusha called it savlanut. In Yiddish it says geduld, so they didn't say geduld, they say geduld. Savlanut. One said savlanut has 3 meanings. Savlanut is sevel, you're having a hard time. Savlanut is sabal, you have to learn how to carry it. And savlanut is sivloinas, you get presence. That means when you go through this procedure, as we know, it's a certain procedure that Kodesh Baruch is giving you. As we said before, what is the procedure? Kodesh Baruch is going to give you a new chiddush. He's going to give you a new breed, a new thought, a new child. Every child that has to be born, it's a procedure. What is the procedure? You can make the child as I have to give you the birth, but in order that I should be birth, I need that you should see me. But without my help, you're going to take it to yourself. So then you go into patience. In that patience, the more you feel free, the more you do breathing these days, the more you meditate, the more you are free. So then I can prepare the place, the heichel as they call it, the kaila that you should be able to get the new hashpur. But why? Because HaKadosh Baruch is the one that's giving the hashpur, the shefa, the flow all the time. But this flow that he gives from Ein Sof, it comes to, which from infinite comes to finite. If you're not going to give the patience, you're going to be flooded and you're going to be lost altogether. So it's, my work right now is to go into patience with emunah. That's what the Zohar Kodesh says. Achocham ein of baroishay. Baroishay means it's infinite. What's on your head? You yourself are finite. What connects between the finite and the infinite is called chochma. Chochma is called koyach ma, the vulnerability. That you're ready to know that you're not, there's a mark. As we said before, the creation was in 3 levels. It was the Ein Sof, and this yesh that we're in, and the middle of Kodesh Baruch Hu made it exactly that it should all be one. That means chochma, when you go into emunah, you go into this patience, you go into this keeping quiet, and knowing that this is a procedure that I have to go through. What procedure am I going through? I have to go to two procedures. One, after the Chet Tzadas, I think I'm doing, so I have to give up the control. Number two, I have to see that he's the one that's running it. So this procedure has to be done only, I cannot do that either. All I can do is keep quiet and believing that this is a procedure. Just sit down on the chair of the doctor and let him do whatever he's doing. If you're not going to bother, if you're not going to bother him, he's gonna help you. So Busha called that's the whole way to keep ourselves in this derech, because actually you shouldn't have atzlus hamachshuva, he called it. There's a, he used to call it, there's a avodah, va'avoida, he used to call it. Avodah, that's, you're doing something technically. Avoid is called to use your mind. That means it's sometimes harder to release. Once if you've made a deal, you got everything together, and now it has to happen. You know, it's a shidduch or it's a business. You want to know this is coming. Because Baruch is giving you those few minutes that you're getting lost, not to lose you. That in order that you should know, Hashlech al Hashem Yahavchu. That means every time that the pain comes, I have to know it's coming to help me as an opportunity, and not to get me away. So we always know that the means we find the Yochanan, the deal was end up as in these days that here in Eretz the whole world doesn't know what's going to be. From last week, all busy. Will there be a war? Won't there be a war? Will there be? Won't there? But according to the Busha, actually, the more you see yourself vulnerable, it's not there to get you off-bound, it gets you to connect yourself. And Busha say the more you're going to go into pachad, just like by a leida, just like by a birth, you can have a harder birth. The same thing is by every pachad that comes up, every fear that comes up, the more you understand. Sham pachad di pachad lahoya pachad. Just to say it, a person has to say, Elakim shamati shemachu yoresi. Every pachad comes there to connect me, as the Baal Shem Tov HaKudosh says, as we said, shekol ha'pchudim that comes, is all HaKudosh Baruch Hu wants you to be connected to Him. So then, number one, you're broadening your connection with Rebbe Shalom. You're using for opportunity to come to such a connection with Rebbe Shalom that you wouldn't be able to come without this thread. And number two is that you're broadening your thread. So every time this pachad comes, not HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to give you a punishment. He's wanting to you. But if Chaz v'Shulim, you're taking as a threat and you get lost, there's two things happening, God forbid. One, you get lost, you get into that. Number two, the strength that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave you now to strengthen yourself, you're giving it to them. They should give you the koach to do that pachad. We spoke last time. Any time that a person doesn't do his work, his koach goes away to the sitra achad. That actually gives them the koach. So now in these days, we have to know that is Elikim also Shiur. That comes actually to simcha. The Chayos says, when a person is sure, the more he has bituchen, the more he has simcha. When a person is sure that this is the mahalach, he has no ono mitponecha evach, he has nowhere to run away. Actually, Kodesh Baruch Hu wants me to connect and not run away. Then we come to the Mashcheni, Axrecha ונרצה. That's when we're listening. From this is actually to get me close to you, not to get me far away from you. Then Haviani Hamelech Chadurav. Then he can bring me even closer to him than I was before. Why? Just like a person working in a factory or in any business. If the boss wants to check all the time, is he with me or is he not with me? The main problem is when a worker comes in and sees the boss is not there, and suddenly he thinks he's the boss. He can come when he wants and go when he wants. Just forget there's a camera looking down at you if you're there and what you're doing. That means the Rebbe always wants to get you closer and closer. He's letting you run the show, but as long as you say that he's running the show. Haviani HaMelech Chadurav. When it's Haviani HaMelech Chadurav, I know I have the backing of the Melech. Is no Gilov and Nismach Ubrach. It's only come out Simchas Ba'idin. And Hatzlucha, as Vashantar calls, that is the sort of Hamtakat Dinim B'Shosham. Shkoyach. Any questions?
How are we supposed to connect when someone, let's say, goes through, I don't know, Chas v'Shalom, like terrible stuff, from death, sickness, abuse? Like how, even there was a story 2 weeks ago, a young 13-year-old Bucher, yeah, terrible. Like when something terrible happens, how it's hard to say that that's the Eibush. It's hard to it's hard to connect that with the Eibush. It's hard to connect that type of, let's not call it punishment. That shefa is when something bad happens to.
So let's say you're talking about a boy that's not here today, and what does that have to do with me?
Well, that's one question. That's one side of it, but us.
Were you able to stop it?
Let's say that. No.
So right now, this story messes you up.
It's a frightening story.
Frightening
it's a fear.
It's messing up. It's
yeah.
a fear. So
especially you have kids that age.
Kids, that's
protect
it.
them.
So we're not afraid of the bullshit. No, we're afraid of Xayim, Kuvet Kesef. Let's call it a better name. It's not nice to say that way, but at the end of the day, I'm afraid of myself.
Well, we don't want something like that to happen to us.
That means I'm afraid.
That I shouldn't get hurt.
Yes, it means he's scary. Don't do such things.
Yes.
Don't do that to me.
Yeah.
But if bullshit taught us, it works the other way around. Since I thought life is so simple, I'm coming, I'm going, I'm doing, I'm dancing, we're going, I'm not going, I'm going, I just forgot about him. Then suddenly, such a neshama, he calls it a big neshama, has now the schis to shackle you up. And if you're the one that gives a thought, things are not so simple. Lila Hashem is Rusri, we're all vulnerable. So that thought that I have now, from what happened to him, says the neshama now is in a place that asking for the oilam, now you can help me. When I was around, you weren't able to help me for whatever reason it was. First, you didn't know who I am. But right now, you also know who I am. All you know the story is. Now you can help me. What you can help me? If you're going to be a beginner from a hoilach, from that tragedy, and you took it personal to know that I have to be in tefillah all the time, then, and he's the one that brought me to that stage, then I turned it over from a negative emotion to a positive emotion. But, Bushi used to say, when we start thinking about these tragedies, it's actually the neshama coming to all of us that heard this tragedy, that in order we should help it be a hoilach there, not a oimet. That means it's a tragedy, which, God forbid, you can come to places that it's hard to get out of there, but it can be in a place that I'm the one that can get him to such a place that it will come out of Kiddush Hashem from him. So I'm the one, when I hear it, I take it into a positive way. Not only it brings me into Pachat Hashem, but it doesn't disconnect me, it didn't connect me to my children, to all of them, more than I was before. That's what we have to work for. That's we have to come with the assessment of Mashcheni, Achrecha, ונרצה. Two ways I can look at what Hashem wants to get, says the Tfer Shloime. Tfer Shloime says, either I look at that he's hitting me
from behind,
or he's calling me. If he's calling me, it's my work not to be lazy and use my common sense to see that actually he's calling me. The more I work, so the biggest problem is when I go into Teva, when I start living that things are simple, then then I lose it.
Coincidence is the word.
Coincidence.
Pink doesn't Yashem.
I just said today, there was in America, there was the gold rush. You learned history, didn't learn history.
We don't learn history.
We learn history. But anyways, when it was the gold rush, the main people were living in the east of America, New York, and suddenly they heard that out there in the west, there's a whole Midburiyas, there's deserts of gold. Till today, they're still open, the holes they were looking for.
Grand Canyon, at least.
Yeah, the people started running for the gold. It was hard for them. They died there. The whole cemetery is full of young people, 23 years old, ran there to get the gold. They had no problem leaving the family, leaving everything. The hardship was there, because they knew it's gold there. That's called Toiv li Torah Spirchum Alfezur v'Chesed. Also, when you're going for gold rush, nothing is going to stop you, even though you have the pain. But I know that without that pain, that I don't have money, I wouldn't go look for that. And the pain to get that money is worth going through it. So as long as I'm not sure this is the mahalach, as we said, we should call it, as long as I have to be batuach shani lo batuach. As אני אשתמש בביטחון בשם, then I'll do בטוח מהקדוש ברוך הוא. As long as I think that I'm sure for myself, then I'm really suffering.
That's scary.
שכוח צדיקים, כל טיב. כל טיב, שכוח דיר.